We'll turn the time over to Chair Hansen of the Standards and Assessment Committee.
Thank you, Vice Chair. The recommended action that came from our special Standards and Assessment Committee meeting held earlier this month is that the board adopts the fifth grade standards as amended, including any conforming technical changes needed for all standards, and that the board approves the sixth grade standards as submitted by the writing committee.
Thank you. So the motion from committee is that the board approves, oh, I don't have that whole thing, Scott, approves the fifth grade, is it? Yes, so Scott's going to read it for, as though it's me.
Yes. I don't know if I can do your voice, Laura, but that the board adopts the fifth grade standards as amended, including any conforming technical changes needed for all standards, and that the board approves the sixth grade standards as submitted by the writing committee.
Thank you. Okay, do we have any discussion? Board Member Earl?
Yeah, just a couple things. I don't think we're quite there yet. I know we've had great work from where we've been previously, meaning that when you go back and look at the standards that we previously had, and I think the writing committee's been very thoughtful about their work. I don't think we're there yet. I know fifth grade met with teachers again, some teachers up in my area again yesterday, and there's just a concern still. Fifth grade is just, there's too much there. It's too much to take on in a fifth grade classroom. It's not there, even with, I have some amendments, but those don't do justice to what needs to happen there. And then sixth grade, the focus there has shifted to more of globalization and away from what I would consider one of the key reasons why we study world history, not the only reason. We do look at other cultures and we do look at other environments, but one of the key reasons is to study the elements of liberty and prosperity. And those aren't, those are consequences. I think people sometimes view those as actual philosophical views, but liberty is a consequence of particular items that take place and actions that a society puts into order. And those are not present there. I just think that we could be more thoughtful about how we, what we put into there. It's not a complete renovation or expansion. I know I've made some amendments that would suggest that. I've simplified those, I think, in a way that I think honors both the work, but also honors some of the other things that need to be addressed in here. So I guess I could start by making some amendments. Is that the best way to proceed, or are you wanting just comment before that?
No, it's your time.
Okay.
May I just make one
Yes.
comment? We have 2 hours set aside for this discussion today.
I realize that.
Go ahead,
So
Board
thank
Member
you.
Earl.
So based on the fact we went and, yeah, I'd like to make amendment 5.1.3.
Okay,
to-
hold on, let's get it pulled up. Thank you. A question was, did they
Yeah,
come in
I
advance?
sent them out probably 2 days ago.
Thank you. Go ahead, Board Member Earl.
Yep, so 5.1.3, I would like to, because we went through and took out some of the more specific in that it gave direction to teachers on some of the key elements. Sorry, let me give my amendment and then I'll speak to it. I apologize.
Thank you.
Almost got this down. I'd like to strike, for example, and add the word including on 5.1.3.
5.1.3. You have 5,
Chair, may I?
yes.
That one isn't on your document. It starts with 5.1.6. So, but we can type it.
So
We can
if
type
you-
it.
Yeah,
you
so
can-
that's just simply it, 5.1.3. My apologies, let me see if I've,
We can type it. There we go.
okay.
Can you repeat your motion, your amended motion?
So it is to strike, it's to strike out
Strike,
what's
for
here.
example, no, that's not, yeah, sorry, at the top, strike, for example, and it just add the word including.
Can we get the whole
Sorry,
section?
let me,
I just showed it.
okay.
Chair, may I?
Yes.
Can I let the committee see the documents that I'll be navigating back and forth between on here so that we can understand where we're at and what it looks like? And then you can ask which document you'd like for me to show at which time.
So, Dr. Norman, it might be helpful to just kind of show them where the committee worked from and how you will be working from the
Yes.
same place. I
Okay.
think it would be helpful.
Thank you. The primary document that we will be working from today will be this document, and this is just referred to as the table. So if you'd like to see anything within the table, then what it does is it starts out with May 24, 2022, and then it starts out with what the writing committee sent in. Then at that time, July 5th was the deadline for board members to provide their feedback, and that would be this next column if you want to see what board member feedback was at that time with the deadline. Then there are board member revised standards, and then there was some staff suggestion that went along with it, like if you have a question of how does staff feel about this or the writing, and then the next one is how did the writing committee, some of the questions were, why did the writing committee add this to the standards, or why do they think that it should be kept in? So that's the writing committee context. The next line is the motions made in Standards and Assessment Committee meeting either on August 5th, August 30th, October 20th, or November 21st. So those were all the motions that were already made. And then the last one is the final copy per se, which means it is what was passed as of November 21st. So if you want to see if a motion was already voted down, if you want to see if one was already added to, if it was passed with revisions or something like that, this is the table. So if you want to look at the table, just refer to that. The next one is, I know there were some questions by board members of what was passed in the up-down voting. This is called the up-down voting chart, if you'd like to see that. Then we have the chart that Jeff is going to be helping with, which is the board member motions. And this is anyone that's turned in their motions prior to today's meeting. If you want to have them reflected or copied over verbatim, then we'll have this for Jeff to be working on. The next is the revised standards, if you want to see them in context as of November 21st, just as they go in that flow. And then we have the 6th grade as well as of the November 21st, if you want to see what they look like with that flow. So with that information, Vice Chair Belknap, which document would you like to look at?
I think that probably the chart would probably be the best, but I also want to be clear that the up-down voting has already been changed in committee. That's not being presented today. The up-down voting was, I don't know, revoked, whatever. So, a do-over. Good. So if you can pull up here 5.1.3 so we can see where we are in the work we've done. I think that would be helpful, Dr. Dorman.
Okay, this is 5.1.3 within context. Let me make it just a little bit bigger. Oh, it went right to the top. Sorry. Once we get started, it'll be so much smoother.
We all feel like we're on a roller coaster.
I know,
for
close your
just a
eyes. I'm so
second.
sorry. Or look at my disco jacket. I'll move around a lot and distract you. There we go. No, this is not. We can do a PDF and send it really. Yeah. We will do a PDF of this document and send it to all of you really quick so you can see it bigger. Here's 5.1.3 so you can see as it went across. So this is how it was worded. That go one.
And so, Board Member Earl, on this far right side, this is where we are right now to use maps. Is that accurate? Are we in the right place?
Yes.
That.
Is that the right one? Yes, that would be the right
And you want
one.
to change which words
I would
there?
strike, for example, and put including.
Okay. So, do we have a second to that motion? We do not, so
Okay.
let's go on. Board Member Earl?
Yep, I'd like to make an amendment to 5.3.6. And we had quite a bit of discussion about this in committee. It's to put in clarified the rights of citizens in place of, let me see what it was stricken. I didn't put that on there. Instead of extending rights to groups denied.
Hold on, hold on.
Sorry, it would be clarified rights.
Will you make your motion after we
My
get there? I
apologies.
think that would be helpful. No, I think if you make it so we can look at it at the same time. Board Member Earl, thank you. 5.3.6. Okay, go ahead. Board Member Earl, your amendment?
Yeah, so it'd be clarified the rights of, and I'd like it to be people and groups added, and striking extended rights to groups. Let's see, originally, hold on, my apologies. I'm going back to make sure I've got this the way. Clarified the rights of people and groups. And to strike, have extended rights to groups.
I don't know if that's the right one, because Jenny, this is where we are on.
5.3.6.
5.3.6 is describe the civic duty of members. Is that the right place?
3.6, am I on the wrong one?
I think you meant 1.6.
Oh, 5.3.6, yeah,
5.1.6.
3.
3. Okay, so this is where we are. Describe the civic duties members of American society have today. For example, voting.
That's
holding public
3.7.
No, that's 5.6. It just carries down.
I see the, this is what happened as well, so I'm going to try and be better at this. If you notice right here on the left-hand side, it was the 5.3.6. Standards have been added in the meantime, so this is the new 5.3.7. Board Member Earl is correct. So this is the new 5.3.7. I will be looking on the right-hand side better and in
Thank
doing
you.
this.
Okay,
So
so-
that was my fault. Sorry about that. It's okay. Thank you.
So
Thank you.
where are we?
Right here is 5.3.6.
Okay, so go ahead, Board Member Earl. Will you make your amendment now?
Yes, so it would be, more or less, it's inserting clarified the rights of, and then instead of citizens, we had quite a bit of dialogue about that. So clarified the rights of citizens, of people and groups originally denied protection under the Constitution. So it's striking extended rights. That makes, the difference is the clarified and the
So
the
Jeff, will you go
extended.
back to where her amendment is so we can see what's stricken and what's?
Vice Chair, it's on the right next to it, so it's right here, 5.3.6, and it did say clarified the rights of people and instead of extended the rights, so it's this part is what it was, yeah, and what it would look like.
Yeah, this is what we need to see. Okay.
So in place of citizens, if you don't mind writing people and groups. All right,
So is that accurate there, Board Member Earl?
there, yep.
Is that now accurate?
And then taking, we need to undo the strike for originally denied protection under the Constitution.
Jeff, did you hear that?
Is that possible to do
And you
that?
would like to add that in?
Don't strike out originally denied protection under the Constitution. Don't strike that out. But it's not an add-in, okay? It's not stricken. Because the only thing. Okay, Board Member Earl, does that look accurate to your amendment?
Yes,
Okay, so the amendment, or do we have a second to this amendment?
I'll second.
Second, Board Member Moss. Board Member Earl, do you want to speak to this?
just the difference between clarified means those rights are already available, they're natural rights, and I just think, to me, it's a foundational principle versus an extension, the government's extending rights. The government has the authority to do that versus clarifying the natural rights that are already available to all people. So that's my clarification there.
Thank you. Does anybody want to also speak to this amendment? Board Member
Okay.
Klein?
Yeah, I just, so the protections of the Constitution are specifically for citizens, but inalienable rights are universal. So is that articulated clearly that the Constitution, the protections of the Constitution are extended to citizens, but the inalienable rights are universal for all people? I'm not sure how to make sure that that is clear in there, because the protections of the Constitution don't extend to, say, illegal immigrants.
So, Board Member Earl, are you still good with your? Thank you. All right, so the amendment on, anybody else want to speak to this amendment? Go ahead, Board Member Hanson.
Yeah, we had quite a lengthy discussion about this, and this motion for amendment has changed a little bit because it was with regard to citizens, and we had some discussion about people who weren't considered as citizens at the time of the drafting of the Constitution. I believe that the committee got it right with the word extended because the rights were in the Constitution. They just weren't extended to all of the people that are included now. And when we say we the people, we think of all the people who are here in the United States. There may be some discussion about illegal aliens, but women, blacks, others who weren't included at the time of the drafting. So those rights have been extended. As a committee, we voted to accept that language after that discussion because we thought that was, I believe, speaking for myself, I thought that was an accurate representation of what happened. So I'm not in favor of this amendment.
Thank you. Board Member Moss?
I didn't mean to jump in line. I just want to make clear my
No,
my
I'm
light
just-
was on for this.
I know it's on for other things as well.
You want me to go or is-
Yes, yes.
Just briefly, I think it's an important point to recognize that, originally the rights weren't, I think, recognized for everybody. And this goes to a more fundamental question, whether the government creates rights or recognizes and clarifies that those rights are inherent and natural, and they've been denied to some. And they were later, I think the word extended describes the scope, but the source of the right, I think, is what this amendment goes to. It recognized that that was an inherent and alienable right. And so I think with the language left in, that it makes clear that these were denied initially. It acknowledges that problem and then points out that the recognition was finally made that these are natural rights for everybody. So I think the word clarified with that acknowledgement of the original denial makes sense and gets to the right concept.
Thank you. Anybody else want to speak to this amendment? Board Member Klein?
Yes, I would just like to amend it to say recognize instead of clarify.
You'd like to make another amendment?
And yes, an amendment to
Strike
her.
clarified and make it recognized?
Right.
Do we have a second to that amendment?
I'll second. Well, yeah. I'll second, just to throw it in there.
Okay, don't throw it in there unless you. Okay, all right. So, Board Member Klein, do you want to speak to your amendment?
Maybe it should say recognized. No, I think that helps clear up any ambiguity or uncertainty
All
around
right.
what that means.
Thank you, Board Member Klein. Any discussion to this amendment to changing clarified to recognized? Anyone want to speak to that? Okay. You have to register. Did you want to speak to this, Board Member Straight, or to the whole thing?
The whole thing.
Okay, so Vice Chair Davis?
Yeah, I'll speak to the amendment to the amendment. I think clarified makes it seem like there was some kind of confusion, and I think there wasn't confusion. They just weren't given to certain groups. So I think recognize, is probably a more clear, probably clarifies clarified. And I don't think there's much difference, quite frankly, between the recognized and the ended, because both mean once there was no rights and now there are rights. But I do think recognized is a better choice.
Thank you. Board Member Hanson, did you want to speak to that? Your light on.
Sorry, don't want to repeat what Cindy just said, but I think recognized and clarified are both inappropriate in my opinion, because the rights were recognized, the rights were there. They just hadn't been extended to certain segments of the population, and so extended still fits the bill for me, and that'll be it, I think, for me on this amendment.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Board Member Lear?
I just have a somewhat related question. How many amendments do you have, Jenny?
I'm not sure.
Like 80 or 20 or 2 or?
Yeah, I don't know that I'm going to move them all forward, so.
Okay, let's move on. Anybody else have any discussion to clarified and recognized? Okay, so the amendment before the board is the amendment to the amendment is to change clarified to recognized. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? No. Will the noes please raise their hands? The noes are Chair Huntsman, Board Member Booth, Board Member Cannon, Board Member Straight, Board Member Lear, Board Member Norton. I'm sorry, Kristen. So that passes. Okay. So that passes. Okay, so now we're to the amendment, which reads that the amended amendment is that we have recognized the rights of people and remove extended rights to groups. Any discussion to this amendment, amended amendment? Board Member Straight.
All right. I think I was confused by the last vote, but it's neither here nor there. Anyway, this same debate occurred even before the Constitution was ratified. And very shortly after, when the first government was set up, George Washington was actually our only nonpartisan president. Now, some people say he aligned with the Federalists, but there's no debate about that. Even the words of the Constitution themselves were greatly debated. The Constitution itself says, "We the people, in order to form a more perfect union," meaning that we were a work in process, was well taken. I'd like to point to one piece of history, Plessy versus Ferguson. In Plessy versus Ferguson, Ferguson was considered to be black. I think his actual ancestry was 1/16th. And in rail cars were segregated. It's like riding the train, if I say rail car. So, and the Supreme Court ruled in the end, in regards to that segregation was okay with what was called the separate but equal rule. Separate but equal. That's going to be in place from the late 1890s all the way until we get Brown versus Board of Education. And in Brown versus Board of Education, segregation was stated to be that to be segregated is unequal in and of itself. So in that instance, we have, as our country has matured and as we have recognized these rights, and yes, those rights should be intrinsic to the Constitution, but our interpretation of that changes. I believe that the Constitution of the United States was divinely inspired, but we are in the process of perfection, even at this very day. If we look back on time now, 50 years in the future, we will look back to this moment, not this moment, but this moment in time through our world, and we'll realize that we have moved and changed. one of the great things about, in my view, my personal view, about our nation is the process of perfection. But even if we divide the space between that wall and I divide it in half, I may be moving towards touching that wall, but I will never actually touch that wall if I continue to divide the distance in half. That is ongoing.
Brent,
So,
I don't
anyway,
want to interrupt you.
I
but
know,
are
I
you
am done.
Speaking to the amendment, to the.
I
to the
think it goes to
amendment.
this because the general fear here is that somehow we're saying something negative about the Constitution, and that is the basis of this amendment, that there are two views and one is criticizing the Constitution. So I think it's appropriate to that. Anyway, we'll end there. I am not for this amendment. We have hashed this all out. You know, I do want to point a couple things out, timelines. If we go back to May 24th of this year, at that time, several things had taken place. One, board members' comments or improvements or recommendations were included, and they were with the public comment. That document, we have that document. That included Board Member Earl's input. That's back in May. We also, prior to that May 24th meeting,
Point of order.
Yeah.
We aren't addressing what we're doing.
that's
Yeah.
fine. We are.
But I think, Brent,
Let me
I think that
finish.
could come when we're voting on the whole thing.
Well, actually, now is the most appropriate time to have it. And so, the other thing that had happened is we had, as a board, requested from staff to align with state code and with Portrait of a Graduate, and that was all aligned, and that was all completed by May 24th. I think the real issue is, time and time again, we haven't got what we wanted, and so as a result of not getting what we wanted, we keep bringing it up and regurgitating it time and time again.
Brent, I am going to have to stop you
Okay,
because you're
I
not
will end.
speaking to
Thank
this.
you.
Okay?
Not for it.
Okay, thank you. Okay, does anyone else want to speak to this, to the amended amendment? Board Member Moss.
Very quick, I promise. I'll just say, I think there's a misunderstanding that this is an attempt to ignore the fact that people were denied the rights that others had. I don't think that's what this is
Okay,
about.
I would like you to speak to this.
I am.
Okay.
I think the amendment goes to the source of rights that should have been recognized for everybody, and
Okay.
and whether they're recognized or created, it's a different question. I don't think there's any doubt that the Constitution didn't extend those rights, didn't grant those rights, didn't recognize those rights. The question is it granting or recognizing? And I think there's no question it took a Civil War and Civil War amendments to make it right. And that language is recognized right there. So I think we're talking more about the source of the rights than the scope of the rights and who they go to. And that's why I support the amendment. I don't want in any way to suggest that everything was fine when the Constitution rolled out of Philadelphia. It wasn't. But it's recognizing rights that pre-existed, and that was clear from the Declaration. So
Thank
we're
you.
talking about something I think that is not the focus of that amendment.
Thank you. Ma, are you speaking to this?
Yes. I appreciate this discussion. I would like to point out that teachers that are teaching standards may not be tearing them apart quite in the way that we are, and we need to think pragmatically about what would be taught in the classroom and what wouldn't, and whether it's a material difference for teachers in the classroom. Having said that, all humans have human rights, period, and we need to make sure that we continue to recognize that as we move forward to a more perfect constitution. So human rights are important, and I think we need to not belabor the point. I call the question.
Is there anyone else who wants to speak to it?
then I withdraw
I know.
my calling the question.
Yeah, that's why I went there. Okay, so.
I just wanted
Okay,
everybody to know I
so
was
the
going to.
amended motion is that we change clarified to recognize, add the rights of people and groups, and take out extended rights to groups. No, I wish she pulled it back because.
pulled it back. I was
Because there was
just
nobody else. Thank you, Chair. Okay,
Oh,
so.
I was just,
Oh,
I
you
was the
are?
last one. I was just going to say,
Oh,
I
you
think there's
can't, you
absolutely
can't,
no
hold on,
difference.
you
Okay.
can't, you can't. Then we'd have to do her call to question. Sorry, I didn't see your hand. Okay, so again, the amended motion on the table before the board is to change clarified to recognized and the rights of people, to have recognized the rights of people and groups and remove extended rights to groups. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? No. Okay, the ayes raise their hands, please. The ayes are Board Member Moss, Board Member Hart, Board Member Earl, Board Member Hymas, Board Member Klein, Board Member Hutchings, Vice Chair Davis. How many is that? 7. That amended motion fails. So now we're going to go, Jenny, we're going to go
Yep,
to
that's
somebody
fine.
else since you've done 2 amendments. Is there anyone else who has amendments on the 5th grade standards? On 5th grade. The next person in line would be Board Member Klein.
Okay.
I am trying to keep track of who's where.
All right. So I have 5.1.6.
5.1.6.
Yes. And I motion to strike the words "the causes and consequences." Oh, I'm doing off of yours, yeah. Yeah. There was one that was removed. Okay. By motion, sorry, mine are kind of piggybacking off of someone else's, so.
We have it up on the board, Board Member Klein. Is this accurate on the board, Board Member Klein?
Okay. Okay, so I will I will motion to move Jenny's amendment and add mine to it. Okay. That works. So that it will read, explain slavery and indentured servitude of people from all different races and nationalities in North America and around the world. So
So really, you're changing it completely because you're not just taking out causes and consequences, right?
right. I added additional wording so that it will,
Okay, okay.
This is an add. You can go to the one.
Oh, so that's okay. So Chair Hansen said there isn't a 5.1.6 that came out of committee. Is that accurate, Dr. Norman?
It was stricken, it would have to be put back in.
Okay, so it's a motion, it's not an amendment.
okay.
Amendment to the original, yes. It's an amendment to add a standard. Is that accurate, Board Member Klein?
Correct.
Okay. So can we put that back up, Jeff? Well, you would in a second.
That you have to.
Well, I just want to see it, so we can see it, so people can, no, I appreciate it, Molly. I need it.
Yeah, because I see the
So
last
Board
one
Member
is
Klein,
5.1.
is this accurate? 5.1.6 is a new strand or standard, and it would include explain slavery and indentured servitude of people from all different races and nationalities in North America and around the world. Is that accurate?
As it reads on the screen, yes, but I don't know if there's it doesn't look like there's a 5.1.5 either, so this may be a new
It's okay, because
5.1.5,
we'll do
the
those.
numbering after. Okay.
Yes. Thank you for that clarification. So
yes.
we don't need to strike causes and consequences, because that wouldn't be it. Okay, do
Correct.
we have a second to this motion, amendment? Okay, we don't have a second. Board Member Klein, do you have another one?
I do. 5.6.4.
Wait, say it again out loud, I'm sorry.
5.6.4.
5.6.4. Jeff, can you pull that out?
I don't know how it's.
Is this an amendment or is, and/or a new strand?
Okay. Okay, so I would move to replace 5.6.4 with the wording I've submitted. Should be on the screen.
Okay, so let me read this, Board Member Klein, make sure we have it right, okay?
Okay.
So that you would want to take out of a, wait a minute, where is it? Is this it?
We would just replace what's there with what I have on the screen. Easier than striking and adding.
Okay, so you want to remove what was passed out of committee and add this new amendment?
Right, so committee came out with research and summarized the accomplishments and contributions of a minority community in the United States today. And I'm just asking that it be replaced with research and summarize the accomplishments of individuals whose significant contributions advanced freedom, individual liberty, peace, and prosperity in the United States of America.
Okay, so we just have to make sure that we're striking everything else and then adding this, okay? Do we have a second to this amendment? I don't see one. Board Member Klein, if you have others, we'll come back to you.
Okay.
Okay, you did too. Board Member Hymas, do you have, oh, you're working on it.
I'm ready.
Okay. Oh, wait, Board Member Moss, do you have any for fifth grade?
I do, but I can wait.
No, you're actually next on the list. I apologize, Board Member Hymas.
So I'll be quick then. I do have one, actually, sorry, two. One in 5.3.4, and this would be a motion to restore an amendment that came out of committee, but then was removed in the special session, and I've revised and tightened it a bit in the bolded language. So I do have a soft spot for Madison.
Okay, wait a minute,
I'll
wait a minute,
confess.
wait a
Oh, I'm
minute.
sorry, I need a second. Sorry.
Just a minute. So I just want
That's
to
the
be
motion.
clear.
I'm
What
sorry.
is changed? Jeff, can you mark up what's changed? What is he changing? Or adding or taking away? We
see
need
it
to
back.
have that. It was all taken away, so you are adding this as an additional strand. Okay,
I don't wanna speak
so
out of
you're-
line,
You're
sorry.
adding that. Okay, so the addition would be, okay, where is it? Show me the addition again, please.
Okay, 1 second. We're trying to navigate back and forth between this.
I can't imagine why you can't.
We're on it. We're on it.
I can't even read it right.
Okay, we're going to try and pull that so that we have it as the piece, and you would like to see it here, 5.3.
No, I want to just see it where he had it.
Okay, 5.3.4. Let's put it
No,
here.
I just want to see his.
Motion.
Motion, yeah, his
Okay,
amendment.
right here.
Okay, so is this accurate right here, Board Member Moss?
Yes, the,
Explain James Madison's role in creating the Constitution and discuss his work with diverse figures such as Alexander Hamilton and Thomas Jefferson to define the proper roles of federal government. Is that accurate?
yes.
Okay, do we have a second to this amendment?
I'll second.
A second by Board Member Earl. Board Member Moss, would you like to speak to your amendment?
Yes, and I do promise I'll be brief. So I think this is critical, and I'll just say I did my focus group with my fifth grader and his friends, and I think this is, literally, I have a fifth grader, and I think I'm sensitive to the concern that there's too much there, but I'm also a little bit worried that in this section, which is so critical to understanding everything that we all feel passionate about, we've had, discussion about this, we need a couple tangibles. We need somebody where we can see a story. Fifth graders can see that a person, James Madison, worked on this. And in the interest of unity and listening, I think following on Chair Hansen's thoughts earlier. I think it's very instructive that Madison worked with the two polar opposites of the American founding. Hamilton and Jefferson were bitter enemies. He looked at both, he listened to both, he worked collaboratively. That's why they call him the father of the Constitution. I took that out in my amended, I took that out of the amended part to make it simpler. So I think we have examples of the Revolutionary War. We've got a number listed in 5.2.3. I think we at least need the basic people listed here. Thank you, Vice Chair, for indulging me.
You're-
Well, it was right up there.
It's right there. It's that whole thing.
Oh, there you go.
All right.
Thank you.
I have other lights on, but I think they're for other things. Does anyone want to speak to this? Go ahead, Vice Chair Davis.
I just want to make sure if this passes when we go to the final document, that really the language comes out discussing the work with diverse figures and doesn't somehow revert to discussing the ability to work with, because that's not what we want. We want to discuss the work, not the abilities.
So are you making an amendment here?
No, I'm just saying if it passes, we got to just make sure we pay attention to that little detail.
The bold language includes that change that I made from what was originally passed by the committee.
It's this one right here.
Correct, yeah, the bold stuff.
Okay. Does anyone else want to speak to this amendment?
Vice Chair Belknap?
Yes.
It's actually an addition. The original 5.3.4 was removed, and so this would be an addition to. And it reads now, as Jeff put it up there, proposal to add the following new standard as 5.3.4.
Yeah, it's still, I've
Yeah.
got clarification that it's still an amendment, even though it's a new,
Okay.
even though it's new, it's still an amendment. I already walked through that mud already. So anybody else wants to speak to this amendment? Board Member Lear?
I'm getting mixed messages.
I'll push it again.
I'm getting.
Oh, it's not coming on. Did you register? No, you had to.
Yes, I did. Oh, there, now it's working. I
okay.
just was too fast. I'm getting mixed messages. I hear from Board Member Hart that these are extensive standards, too extensive for the time allotted for social studies. I've heard that from other social studies teachers when I queried all of the people on the writing committee. And yet, though I'm sympathetic to Board Member Moss's specific concern and personal favorite, I think if we really want to pare this down, adding examples of personal favorites isn't helping. And I'm for paring down.
Thank you, Board Member Lear. Board Member Norton?
Yes, I'm kind of following that same vein. The concern that I have in addition to that is those last few words add about 2 days worth of teaching when you start talking about teaching the proper role of federal government in this particular context. You know, I'm all for having a moment to look at some of our individual fathers of our Constitution and our founding fathers, but this brings in a pretty big, hefty additional piece when we're talking just about those three men, and now we're also having to add in the context of the federal government instead of discussing an argument and how to, you know, discuss an argument and collaborate on it.
Thank you, Board Member Norton. I'd just like to remind everybody, we're already 1 hour into this. Board Member Straight?
Yes, we all have our favorite indoctrination. And one of the challenges I have with this wording as a teacher, define the proper role of the federal government. That is a debatable topic. And everyone feels differently about that. And one of the concerns that I often hear is we do not want teachers indoctrinating students. Now, a discussion about the proper role of government is fine, and I guess you could interpret it this way, but this also leads to think that there is a proper role of the federal government. Beyond that, if we look up at 5.3.1, which I believe is on the Articles of Confederation, and okay, so 5.3.1. So if you look at this in isolation and you look at the other question in isolation, I believe it's important that Madison and his Virginia plan is looked at closely. Now, we mentioned some things here, one of being the Articles of Confederation. As a teacher, when you have that discussion on the Articles of Confederation, naturally the cause and effect leads to James Madison, and that leads to the question of the development of the Constitution. So we also have later on a discussion specifically of the Bill of Rights and with the Constitution. So one of the challenges here is the flow of the standards. We have these things, but this complicates it.
Thank you. Board Member Hanson?
Yeah, if I could just ask Patty to scroll up a little bit from where she was, if you've still got that, to the fifth grade strand 3. I just found as we've been going through these, it's helpful to go back and see, this is the title of the strand, United States Government and Citizenship. Students will demonstrate their understanding of the Constitution, its relevance in their life, Bill of Rights, branches of government, how it's changed and been interpreted over time. And then we have 3 compelling questions, which all relate to that title. We're getting away from what the strand is when we start to add in these stories. Teachers may want to do that to illustrate different things, but I don't think that we're staying with the flow of the strand. Thank you.
Thank you. Vice Chair Davis?
I'd like to amend the amendment.
Okay.
I'd like to remove the word proper.
And just strike it.
The role of the federal government.
Wait a minute. We don't have a
Sorry, I don't have a second.
second. Do we have a second to this amendment to the amendment?
I'll second, that's a friendly.
Okay, we have a,
If
Go
it's a
ahead.
friendly, let's just go with it, not, We don't
I
need
don't
that.
think we can.
we can't if he says, it's his motion.
It's not, it belongs to the body.
Okay, then I'll
belongs
speak
to
to my
Bob.
motion.
I'll second.
I think the word proper is creating a difficulty, Chair, because, one person might view this as the proper role of government, another person might view this as the proper role of government, and it adds opinion. Whereas if you just define the role of government, those powers are enumerated in the Constitution, and it's objective, and it can be shown quickly, it doesn't have to take lots of time or days. And so I think that will help in this discussion and amendment.
Thank you. So the amendment to the amendment is to strike the word proper. Does anyone want to speak to that? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Passes. So now the amendment is to, not going to read the whole thing. You can see the amendment. The amended amendment is to explain James Madison's role in creating the Constitution and to discuss his work with diverse figures such as Alexander Hamilton and Thomas Jefferson to define the role of federal government. Anybody else want to speak to this amended amendment that hasn't spoken? This is the room where it happens. I'm just telling you. So, Board Member Moss, I don't want to stop you. Go ahead.
No, I'll just be really brief. I don't mean this to be divisive or indoctrinating. I think the whole point is that Madison is not just a personal favorite. He's the father of the Constitution, and it's partly because he worked with these different people who had strong disagreements. And the idea is to introduce the process, not to take a side in that debate. It's to show how they worked through the process. They made the federal government big enough to do what it needed to do, but with Jefferson, kept it within its limits. It's pretty simple. You can do that in 30 seconds or a whole semester, but it's meant just to introduce those key concepts and put some life to the people who brought that about. That's it.
Molly has her hand ready. Board Member Straight?
Just real quick, I actually thought there were some really good things about this particular idea, because we'd actually tried to work on and improve it, but every time I sat down to do it, I exploded it out. I actually have it right here, where I wrote 3 additional standards out of this to help clarify, one of which was the Federalist Papers, which I think are absolutely foundational, but most people who read and think they're boring. But the Federalist Papers are important to this discussion as well. So I had a difficult time deciding where to stop with my good ideas. And so in the end, I decided I've got to be able to kick that out. And so that's why this disappeared. In fact, Board Member Earl actually agreed with me on this. I think it was not even close. I think we both agreed on this. But anyway, it's one more great idea, and I can think of 1,000 more great ideas. 1,000. And we can put them all in there, but we can't. And that's why I don't want it in there. Because it is. The concepts are. This is in the standards. It is important. James Madison, the Virginia Plan, his work on the Constitution, and later in his work, if you had time for a story, I have one about George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, Alexander Hamilton.
Molly's going to come sit next to you next.
I'm sorry, I shouldn't go with that. Anyway, bye.
Okay, anyone else want to speak to this amended amendment? Okay, so the amended,
I would just like to reiterate Scott's comment that less is more.
thank you, Board Member Booth. Okay, so the amended amendment is explain James Madison's role in creating the Constitution and discuss his work with diverse figures such as Alexander Hamilton and Thomas Jefferson to define the role of federal government. All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? No. Okay, those who in favor, please raise your hand. It is Board Member Moss, Board Member Earl, Board Member Klein, Board Member Hutchings. So, and Vice Chair Davis. So that amended amendment fails. Board Member Moss, you have another one? Oh, I thought you had two. Okay, Board Member Hymas? Are you on fifth grade?
Yeah,
Thank
of
you.
course.
Just
one on the compelling questions for the fifth grade strand, number 3. Just a brief addition
would
to
you
the,
give us the number?
it's not a number, it's a compelling question.
Oh, compelling question, okay. Is it up here on the board? Do they have it?
I asked Jeff and he said yes, so it's on him now.
Okay, and so will you give us your motion first?
Yeah. You want to wait? Or you-
Yeah, as soon as it's up. I think
Okay.
it's helpful to have it. Oh, he's typing it, so go ahead.
So the question says, what civil rights and liberties are included in the Constitution? I simply want to add, and Bill of Rights.
Second.
It was just up on the screen.
Question?
That's strand 5.3, yes, apologies.
I'll second that.
Okay, so it is to add the Bill of Rights to the compelling question on 5.3, on fifth grade, strand 3. Board Member Hymas, would you like to speak to that? The second by Straight.
The Bill of Rights is important. That's it. You
Okay.
should put it in there.
Any discussion to that motion? Oh, it just didn't get moved down. Would that be a cleanup, Dr. Norman? Would that be a cleanup because it is in the strand listed above?
It is, and it's in a standard listed below, but this
So-
is just in the compelling
So would
question.
that be a cleanup in the question, or would that be, we need to make an amendment to that? You want to vote on it? Okay, all right. Okay, to determine that. All right, thank you, Board Member Hanson. Board Member Straight?
Alignment. It's good alignment.
Okay, good. Any other questions to this amendment? So the amendment is to add the Bill of Rights to the compelling questions in the fifth grade, strand 3. All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, it's unanimous. Okay. All right, so we are, let's see if there's anybody else. Oh, that, I'm going public 3. Okay, Board Member Earl?
Yeah, 5.6.4, I'd like to add, so research and summarize the accomplishments and contributions made by people from the United States today, including people from minority communities.
So what are you adding? all of that?
Made by people from the United States today, including people from, and then IES at the end of community.
Okay, so,
It's 5.6.4. That would be it.
okay, so you would be taking out of a and adding made by people from the United States today, including from, and then adding communities and in. And taking out in the United States.
Well, it just gets moved, but yes,
Is that accurate?
that's it.
Okay, do we have a second to that amendment?
I'll second it.
Okay, Board Member Earl, would you like to speak to this?
Yeah, this is just an inclusionary language. It doesn't exclude, but it also emphasizes, I think, what the writing committee, from what I heard at our, in our discussions the other day, that this creates that inclusionary process. We're not saying eliminate, you can't include this because of whatever, but this allows that, and it expounds on that in a way that I think is thoughtful and positive.
Thank you. Any more discussion? Board Member Lear?
What does today add?
Is that a question for Board Member Earl?
I think
Maybe
it's a
ask the-
question for, I'm just saying, do we?
I think
as
it
long as
means
you're
current.
amending that, is today helpful or not in any way?
Dr. Norman?
We have John Arthur from the
That
writing
maybe is
committee.
too much information.
If you need any clarification from the writing committee, as you were asking.
I think the time frame is maybe relevant here, if I can
Maybe a
speak
little
to that.
rhetorical. Never
So-
mind. I don't want to take more time. Never mind. I was thinking there might be.
Board Member Klein?
Yes, I would like to amend the amendment and end it right after put a period after the United States. I think, yeah. Yep.
Oh, so can we just consider that a cleanup because it has today and today with the amendment? Because she has,
I'm saying to end the sentence after United States, period. Yep. It says,
Okay, wait a
research and
minute.
summarize the accomplishments and contributions made by people from the United States, period.
oh, so it isn't the United States you want to take out. You want to take out minority communities.
It's already included, minorities are included in people in the United States. United States is all-inclusive of the people in it.
Okay, but I'm just trying to get clarity. Jenny, yours did not take that out, right? So you're taking that out. We need to be clear that that's.
Yes,
that the
that's my amendment to her amendment.
The amendment is to take out from minority, oh, right there, to end there. Oh, and get rid of that last half of that. Oh, thank you. I was looking at the United States at the very end.
Oh,
That's where I was confused.
yeah, no, sorry.
Okay, so do we have a second? The amendment is to end after the United States and take out today, including people from minority communities, from minority communities. Do we have a second to that amendment? We do not. Let's go back to the amendment to the amended amendment. Now do the amendment. Sorry. So the amendment is to research and summarize, to add made by people from the United States today, including people from, and then make it communities and remove of a. Any more discussion to that amendment? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, should I say? Okay, so all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? No. Okay, will the ayes raise their hands, please? So we have an aye from Board Member Booth, Board Member Moss, Board Member Hart, Board Member Earl, Board Member Hymas, Board Member Klein, Board Member Hutchings. Okay, that amendment fails. Go ahead, Board Member Earl.
Yes, Jeff, if you can pull up my amendment. This is sixth grade, and can we switch to
Let's
sixth
not
grade?
switch to 6. Board Member Klein, do you have something else on
Okay.
5th grade? Board Member Klein, do you have something else on 5th grade? You do not. Okay. All right. So, Board Member, does anyone else have anything for 6th grade that they? Yeah, well, for 5th, we're done. Okay. Yeah, so they're
So-
both together.
So
So,
you
go
could
ahead.
take a motion to, that's what I was
Yeah,
going
I'll-
to get in the queue, motion to divide.
Yeah, I'll move to divide and to adopt the 5th grade
Second.
standards as amended.
Okay, as amended and with technical changes
And
still,
with technical changes.
as it was before. We have a second from Board Member Hart, or, I'm sorry, I think you made the motion, but he made the motion too.
No, I was just saying there was,
Okay.
for no.
Okay, so to divide the 5th grade from the 6th grade at this point, any discussion to that motion? Seeing none, all in favor? Aye. Those opposed?
No.
No.
Oh, to divide,
To
yes.
divide, okay. Okay, so then the motion that we're back to the original motion, which is now divided. So the first one is to approve the 5th grade standards as amended and with all the technical changes that will need to be made later. Any discussion to that motion? Board Chair, oh, sorry. Seeing none? Board Member Klein, did you have a discussion to that?
And can I make a substitute motion?
Yes, you can.
I would move to send the 5th grade standards back to committee for further work.
Okay, so the Board Member Klein is asking for that. Do we have a second to that motion? We do not, so the motion on the table is to, yes, go ahead. Yeah, throughout all of them. I appreciate that. It's including all technical changes for all the standards, not just for 5th grade. Jeff, did you hear that? Jeff, did you hear that? That the technical changes are for all the standards, not just 5th grade. That was the motion coming out of committee. Thank you. Thank you. I was going to say Chair Hansen, because that's what you are. Okay, so the motion
do.
before the board is that the motion approve the 5th grade standards as amended, including all technical changes for all K-6 standards. Board Member Earl?
Yeah, just, I still feel like this is so expansive for our 5th grade educators. I have great concern with that, and that I just don't think we're there yet. So that's my comments.
Thank you. Board Member, Chair Huntsman, sorry.
Yeah, I'd like to call the question.
Thank you. The motion on the table is to call to question on this motion of to approve the 5th grade standards as amended, including all technical corrections needed for all K-6, for K-6 standards. Thank you. No, call to question doesn't, sorry. Call to question does? Oh. Okay, Miss Janet, thank you. Okay. Okay, all in favor of calling to question? Aye. Those opposed? Okay, so the motion now before the table, thank you, Ms. Janet. The motion before the board is that the board approve the 5th grade standards as amended, including all technical corrections needed for all 6 through 12. I think we should say, not all standards, but for the K-5, so for the K-6 social studies standards. I think we should better be clear on that. So, okay. All in favor of this motion, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
No.
No, we have one no. Board Member Klein? Okay, any changes? So now the motion before the board is to approve the 6th grade social studies standards. Any discussion to that motion? Board Member Earl?
Yeah, I have an amendment.
Yes?
All right. Sorry, it may need just a little cleanup. I inserted trying to condense. But, so sixth grade, strand 1.
I think it's up here, Jenny. Is this accurate?
Yeah. Except for there, on the second one, or the third one, there's a couple of things I tried to insert, so it might need to be cleaned up just a little bit on it, but just at the end of that, so that students, they will compare early governments and the foundations of modern governments, including the foundations of liberty and self-governance in the ancient world.
We're just talking about strand 1 now. Should we do all 3 of them? Chair Hansen, I would defer to you as a suggestion. Do we do strand 1, 2, and 3 together, or just keep it separate?
It's similar. They're all
Okay, go ahead.
along the same lines.
Go ahead.
And then adding in, students will explore the development of liberty and self-government during the post-classical era. And then the next one, this is where I inserted this, but it might need to be moved a little bit. Students will describe how the political and economic impacts of this time period, see, I've got the time period, probably needs to be moved up, including the development of ideals and institutions of liberty and self-governance, created new political ideologies. Jeff, did you catch that? Yeah. Okay. And then I have an add instead of and. So I think that cleans that up. So that would be my 3.
Are these accurate then, Jenny?
Those are,
Board Member Earl?
yes.
Okay. All right. And do we have a second to this amendment?
Second.
Second, Board Member Klein. Board Member Earl?
Yeah, going through the 6th grade standards, and I understand this is world civilization. There's a number of objectives in studying world civilizations, and I think we hit a lot of those objectives in the standards themselves. The inclusion of these 3 items, first of all, is it's not overpowering, it's including foundations. We're talking about the very foundations of liberty and self-governance. There's other governments throughout the world, and so this does not take away from that, I feel like. Then again, we're talking about explore the development under the strand 2, and then under strand 3, once again, it comes back to the development of just those basic ideas and of liberty and self-governance. And I spoke a little bit earlier. I think sometimes we're exchanging language out of here. We are putting in globalization everywhere, but we don't have liberty anywhere in here. And I understand that from talking to other people that somehow liberty's become maybe a bad word or something. I'm not sure, but I do think liberty is an outcome, and I do feel strongly that is one component of world civilization, is to understand some of those foundational pieces. And so I think this is a responsible move. I think it's a thoughtful move to put in these foundational pieces, or at least draw some attention to that. So that's my comments.
Thank you, Board Member Earl. Board Member Klein, do you want to speak to this? No, she's doing something else. Vice Chair Davis?
I'd like to divide the question and divide out strand number 3 separately from the first 2.
So the motion is to divide out 1 and 2 and divide 3 out from them. Do we have a second to that? Second, Board Member Hansen, do you want to speak to that?
Yeah, it's hard to speak to that without speaking to the other motions, but I would support this in strand number 3, but less so in the first 2, and I can speak to it if it passes as to why. Or do I guess I need to just do that now?
Yeah, you can speak to both of them because you're dividing it.
Okay. I just feel like, what happened here was so monumental with the governed having a say in the government. And that's what makes this country so, miraculous. But I think that came later, and I think it's okay to juxtapose the two, what was happening more anciently and then what was happening here in more modern times. And I just think that the separation helps to juxtapose the two a little better.
Thank you. I have a clarifying question, Board Member Earl. If we add these to this, will it also require additional amendments to the strands below? Will it is it going to add more sections, if I can say that?
I don't know if adding more sections, I think it just clarifies what they would be studying.
Okay.
Or
I just wondered if what you're working on, if you
I'm
had
not
it.
adding any more amendments.
Thank you. That
This
is-
is
that
it.
it- that
This is
equated
it.
to
So
those.
I would love
Okay.
it if we had more amendments, but it seems that's not the intent of
That was just a clarifying
body.
for me, if there was, we needed to do that. Okay. Board Member
I have
Lear?
a similar clarifying question. The first two said self-government, the last one is self-governance. And it may be a distinction without a difference, but in my mind, governance is broader than government. Is that intentional, or should they all be one or the other?
Board Member Earl, do you have a thought on that?
Could you, my apologies, I'm trying to understand what your difference is there.
I'm saying, is there any distinction for you between self-government and
And governance.
self-governance? Because the first two say government, and self-government during the post-classical
Yeah,
era.
it can be changed to self-governance. I'm not, yeah.
I just think if there's any distinction, it seems like we would want to use the same word between the two.
Fair enough.
in
I
the-
think,
and
I
just-
don't know if
so
that needs to be as
that's-
amendment or if that's a friendly amendment.
That could be a friendly.
Yeah,
And maybe that's non-substantive, I don't know, but
I think it's probably non-substantive to make them
Okay.
the same. Okay, and I've kind of lost my thought process, but we are on dividing the question
Okay.
at this point. So we would be dividing out strand 1 and 2 from 3. Does anyone else want to speak to that? Seeing none, all in favor? Those opposed? Okay, so we will go to strand 1 and 2. So the motion is on strand 1 and 2 to add, including the foundations of liberty and self-governance in the ancient world, and students will explore the development of liberty and self-governance during the post-classical era. Any discussion to those amendments? Board Member Klein?
I would like to make an amendment to Strand 2. And Jeff is going to help me with that based on what I've submitted and how
Thank
it
you.
fits in with these changes that have been made now.
Thank you.
Okay, so it should be up there now. So I would move to, so that the language now says, and I don't have it broken out, so and information is new, the expansion of knowledge is already there. I'm adding and information, and then I'm trying to see what else was added here. And then striking and encouraged global interconnectedness.
Okay, I think Jeff's trying to do it up above, maybe in a different color to help us to see. Thank you, Jeff.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
So I would, okay. Changing technical, they're still kind of, I can't have to read my paper.
We'll wait till he gets it up here and see if we have
Okay.
it right. Natalie, okay?
Okay.
Okay, so Jeff, can you pull that down? And Board Member Klein, does this look accurate on the screen?
Let's see. Can you, I think we need to scroll a little bit. Okay, so yes, the expansion of knowledge and information through science, language, writing, religion, and technological innovations, and promoted liberty and prosperity in different civilizations. Students will explore the development of liberty and self-governance during the post-classical era. They will understand how this created, and
Getting it.
okay.
Did you get it moved up, Jeff, that technological interconnectedness?
So we're good? Okay, it should be
Is
the
that
way.
it? Is that accurate? Board Member Klein?
Difference, and promoted liberty and prosperity in different civilizations. Students will explore the development of liberty and self-governance during the post-classical era.
But
Is
I think she
that where
wanted
we
to
ended?
add the
I don't think that's how we it's supposed to end there.
interconnectedness down here, Jeff.
Yeah, they will understand how this created an interconnectedness between distant societies and civilizations, period, is how it should end.
Technological.
That's up there technically.
I think I did add technological, but I would be okay with that taken out as well. But technological interconnectedness between distant societies and civilizations. Period. Yes, so that's correct.
So Jeff is.
Yes, thank you.
It's in black. Was that already there? Okay, so we're just taking out that ripples into modern history. Is that accurate?
The global is supposed to be taken out.
The word global,
Yes.
just global.
Yep.
Just the word global, Jeff, as a
Yeah.
strikeout.
Yep, just strike out global.
Thank you. Okay, so will you pull that down now again? Thank you, Jeff, so much for your hard work. Will you pull it down so we can see the whole thing? Board Member Klein, I just want to double check. Is
Yep.
this accurate?
Yes.
So the amendment is to add and information and promoted liberty and prosperity in different civilizations, and to remove global and remove that ripples into modern history.
Correct.
Thank you. Do we have a second to that amendment? We do not, so let's go back to the amendment. The amendment is to add students will explore the development of liberty and self-governance during the post-classical era, and where's the number one strand? Jeff, I need number one strand too, I'm sorry. And add, including the foundations of liberty and self-governance in the ancient world. Any discussion to these additions? Board Member Hanson?
I'm no historian, have a basic grasp of this, but I have had several historians who've checked in through the discussions that we've been having over the past few months, who've really pointed out that it seems to be a stretch to be looking for the foundations of liberty and self-governance in these early periods, because it really was unknown at those times. And so I would speak against, I guess, adopting these revisions to strands 1 and 2.
Thank you. Board Member Klein, did you have something on this?
Sorry, I did have amendments to Strand 1 as well.
Too late. No, I'm just kidding. Board Member Klein, yes, you can make an amendment to Strand 1.
Okay, so I would strike civilization and put history. So it says world history instead of world civilizations. And I would strike as humans migrated across the earth.
You would strike that?
Yes.
Okay.
And then I think that covers it.
Okay, so your amendment is to strike civilizations and humans migrated across the earth. Is that accurate? Do we have a second to that amendment? History was already there, wasn't it? Oh, sorry. It's to civilizations, to take civilizations out and add history, and humans migrated across the earth to take out.
Well, and at the beginning, worlds, where it says world civilizations. No. Yeah, I would change it to world history as well. I don't think the ancient civilizations was fine. I think we changed it in the wrong place. Yeah. So, yeah, that second one doesn't.
So that was the incorrect spot.
Yep, just in the title part.
Okay,
World
thank you.
history.
And so civilization is
civilization
not
stays.
crossed out there.
Isn't-
Board Member
it out.
Klein, civilization is not crossed out
It's
there?
not crossed out.
Okay,
no.
thank you. So it is to change the title from world civilizations to history and to cross out humans migrated across the earth. Do we have a second to that amendment? We do not. Let's go back to the amendment now, is to add, including the foundations of liberty and self-governance in the ancient world, and, Strand 2, Jeff, roll. Students will explore the development of liberty and self-governance during the post-classical era. Any more discussion to this amendment? Board Member Straight.
Don't do that. All right, so I'm going to be really good.
Okay.
So I really appreciate that where we were a couple weeks ago to where we're at now in the sixth grade standards. I'm against changing Strand 1 to Strand 2, but as a precursor, I think it may fit appropriately in Strand 3, so I'm ready to move on 1 and 2.
Thank you, Board Member Straight. I won't roll my eyes anymore. Board Member Earl?
Yeah, so Rome and Greece do fall into these categories, and to say that they don't lay foundational principles would be an inaccurate measurement of history. And I think this doesn't, the wording of this does not overwhelm the standards themselves. They allow for those other dialogues to take place, but it also allows for those foundational pieces. Keep in mind that the first whole section, Strand 1, covers clear up to 500C. So we aren't adding it in other places. In other words, we're not directing, certain areas. We're leaving it open, but this helps to make sure that some of those, or at least some of those foundational principles are addressed. And so I just want to, I think we should take that into consideration here. And it is just the foundations. It's not a completely developed idea. That begins later on, so.
Thank you, Board Member Earl. Board Member Straight?
I think that's a good statement. I might be convinced if I could envision what we're talking about, if I had.
Okay. All right, Board Member Klein, you're still up for something else? Is that accurate?
Yeah.
Okay,
Mine is just
go ahead, Board Member
very
Lear.
brief. Again, I will resist, given what some of you who are practitioners have said, I will resist anything that says including, because it seems contrary to the message I'm getting that these are already too big.
Thank you, Board Member Lear. Okay, seeing no other lights, the motion before the board is to add, including the foundations of liberty and self-governance in the world, and to students will explore the development of liberty and self-governance during the post-classical era in strands 1 and 2 in sixth grade. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
No.
Okay, will those who are an aye raise your hand, please? Board Member Moss, Board Member Earl, Board Member Hymas, Board Member Klein, Board Member Hutchings, Board Member Belknap. Okay. No. Mm-mm. Okay, so let's go now. We are back now to Strand 3 of on the amendment of Strand 3 now, right? Okay, so the amendment is including the development of ideals and institutions of liberty and self-governance. Any discussion to this amendment? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Those opposed? Okay, will the ayes raise your hand, please? Board Member Moss, Board Member Hart, Board Member Earl, Board Member Hymas, Board Member Hutchings, Vice Chair Davis,
Yes.
and
was a
and
yes
Board Member
on
Klein.
three. Yeah.
All right, so now we are back to the original motion that came out of committee. Board Member Klein, do you have another sixth grade amendment?
Right, did that last one pass? Did you say?
It did not.
Welcome. Um,
No, do you want to count again? Would you like to see that? Board Member Earl, are you okay?
Okay, so,
Just for clarification, we have some concerns. Would you please read the ayes from the last vote? I think that's helpful. Is that accurate? Okay. I've got to she's not ready. Board Member Straight?
That came so fast. I was hoping for some discussion. I know it was presented, it was up for discussion, but I was still thinking through it and that, so I voted no because I,
Bring it back.
it's hard for me to think that long. Okay, so well, I'm gonna,
Would you like to bring it back?
no. I think it's fine the way it was. I had some hope that we would have a discussion to where we could work through it, but I'm not prepared to change my mind at this point.
Okay. Board Member Klein?
yes, I'd like to make a motion on to change the compelling question on sixth grade strand 1. And it will say, how does appreciating and allowing for differences while seeking out commonalities contribute to the strength, resiliency, and sustainability of civilizations?
And are you removing a question or are you adding a question?
Adding my paper. I think it's adding. Okay, yeah, adding that compelling question.
Adding that compelling question to these questions that are already here under sixth grade strand 1, and you would like to add?
I would like to replace the one that says, how do interactions between diverse groups of people influence the rise and or fall of societies?
Okay, so you want to remove the fourth one and add, how does appreciating and allowing the differences while seeking out commonalities contribute to the strengths, resiliency, and sustainability of civilizations?
That's correct.
So it's accurate now on the board?
Yes.
Okay, do we have a second to this motion amendment? We do not?
I'll second it.
Oh, second, Vice Chair Davis. Board Member Klein, would you like to speak to this?
I think I just think it speaks for itself.
Okay, all right, you just have the opportunity. So, so the motion then before the board is to remove, how do interactions between diverse groups of people influence the rise and fall of societies, and will be replaced with, how does appreciating and allowing the differences while seeking out commonalities contribute to the strength, resiliency, and sustainability of civilizations?
I'd like to amend the amendment.
Vice Chair Davis?
Yeah, I'd like to amend the amendment and keep this question in and add the question above to the bottom of the list. Yes, so expect you'll be voting no, but yes. we- 'cause you've made that
Okay,
clear.
so the amendment is to keep this question and add the amendment. Do we have a second to that?
I'll second.
Second, Board Member Earl. Did you want to speak to your amendment, to the amendment?
I mean, it's a good question. And, you know, teachers can choose with these questions. It's not like we're putting in a whole entire new standard. There are some options to choose from in these compelling questions.
Okay, thank you. Board Member, wait, Board Member Earl was next.
I'm sorry.
Okay, Board Member Lear.
I need a refresher because I haven't been intimately involved in every element of this. How are the compelling questions, how are teachers instructed about or LEAs instructed about using these compelling questions? Are they optional? Are they prompts? Are they, if this is not an inclusion, if this is just another idea for a teacher to consider, help me better understand.
Mr. Arthur, since
Who
you've
I
come to the table,
rejected.
that would be great. However, you know, you just are advertising on your shirt that everyone should become a teacher. So, will you push your mic? Go ahead.
Thank you.
Introduce yourself, please.
Hello, my name is John Arthur. I'm a sixth grade teacher in Salt Lake City. And as far as the
And
utilization.
a member of the writing
And a
committee.
member of the writing committee, yeah. As far as the utilization of compelling questions, as was stated, there's no requirement that we use those. As teachers receive standards, sometimes, frankly, you look at them and you're confused. What does this mean? So you look at the compelling questions both as a place to begin with conversations in the classroom and also a place to begin your learning as an elementary school generalist on what is it that I need to know in order to be effective as an instructor on these standards.
Ask a quick follow-up.
Quick.
So you believe that teachers do not feel like, given the teachers are rule followers, they don't feel like, no, I have to ask all of these, or I can't pick and choose. You feel like they really are prompts from which to choose in teachers' minds.
I don't want to speak for all teachers.
And just in your opinion.
I will give you this. When I was a first, second year teacher, I would look at these questions and I would use them because I didn't know what else to use, especially given that we don't have a curriculum. So I would come back to these questions as places to put up on the board a conversation in my classroom. So will first, early year teachers use these? Probably. As teachers go on, and this has been a part of your conversation all along, are these standards too long for a teacher to teach? Absolutely. I don't think that that's a fault of the standards. I think that's a fault of how little time we dedicate to the teaching of our history, our government, our economic system, and so on. But as you advance in your career, you learn to pick and choose.
Thanks. That's super helpful.
Thank you. Okay, we have about 10 minutes left. Let's see. Board Member Hart?
I appreciate that answer, and as a practitioner, I agree. A compelling question allows a teacher to set up a situation where there is a discussion rather than just a one-way sharing of a set of facts. It allows for a robust environment where there's a reason that you're learning the standards. I share the concern about standards. I wish teachers didn't have to pick and choose, and I do believe that when they do pick and choose, they're almost de facto making a curriculum, which then the next teacher can't rely on that learning having been taught. So we need to keep it as tight as possible, but unfortunately, teachers are in the position of having to pick and choose because we make them so expansive. In this, speaking to this, the addition of that compelling question, I believe, I'm speaking in favor of it, it allows for a teacher to have go to a deeper discussion if they have the time and the resources, and if it's appropriate for their class, they can go to a deeper depth of knowledge, which is just an education term. I do support an additional question to guide perhaps a new teacher in ensuring that there's a robust conversation that makes the standard relevant. So we're looking at compelling questions, create relevancy for the standard, I guess is, so I speak in support of this, and it doesn't add, it doesn't make a additional requirement, it simply guides a perhaps teacher in a direction.
Thank you. Board Member Straight?
Yeah, I'm looking at these two, and I don't have an issue with either one. One gives a little more information. One is a little more succinct, but are both getting at the same thing? Do we want, or are they, is it different? That's the question I have, and I'm not certain what the answer is to that. But when I look at how do interactions between diverse groups of people influence the rise and fall of societies, there's always that first question of, well, why do societies come about in the first place, and then how do they rise or fall, and what is the process? And so, in that sense, it is a different question, but I think I could interpret it either way. So, it's really hard for me to sit here and say, that's a great idea, because it is, but they're both great ideas. Do we just add both? Maybe.
Well, that's
But
the
they had
motion,
the-
that's the
I
motion on the
know,
table right now.
But the thing is we've developed where we are right now over the last 2 years, and now, right now, I'm asking myself the question on something we just added 5 minutes ago that I've had very little time to think about without understanding fully the implications of that. I think it is a compelling question. If I had to make the decision, I would support it because I don't think it hurts anything.
Thank you, Board Member Straight. Board Member Hanson?
Yeah, I think we have lots of good ideas. And as we've gone through this process, I've looked at these good ideas and then I've said, do I really want to put myself in the place of, 19 teachers who've looked at all this and decided that these are relevant, compelling questions that allow us to cover the material, and then second guess that and add something which I think is duplicative of what's already there. I think a teacher can get at it with the question that's already there. And my answer to that has just been no. Unless there's something substantial that we're trying to do, and I can find a good reason to override the process that we've been through so far and that committee that we've put together who's said that this is our finished product and this allows us to teach these standards adequately. And I've voted no. I'm not voting no on the ideas themselves because I'm all for most of these ideas that have come up. But with looking at the process and the work that's gone into this and the people that have, but they have a lot more experience than I'll ever have on teaching sixth grade kids. And I just have a hard time inserting myself into that with something like this that I don't feel is substantial or don't think adds that much to the process.
Thank you. Vice Chair Davis?
Chair, I agree with what's been said in general, and we don't want to get too broad and we don't want to add, but we do need to be thoughtful about if there is something, a little piece that could be missing. And we have a lot of conversation and standards and questions about differences included, but we don't have a lot about, are there commonalities? And how does that also change the fabric of a society? And I think it's important. It was important then, and it's important now to appreciate differences and also look at the commonalities. I think it's an important question to add. I think it's okay to add in a little piece, and I would be okay. Well, never mind.
All right. Any more discussion to this question? Seeing none, the amendment before the board is to add, how does appreciating and allowing for differences while seeking out commonalities contribute to the strength, resiliency, and sustainability of civilizations? All in favor? Aye. Those opposed? Will the ayes raise their hands, please? Board Member Booth, Board Member Moss, Board Member Hart, Board Member Earl, Board Member Hymus, Board Member Klein, Board Member Hutchings, Board Member Lear, Vice Chair Davis. Does that pass? Okay, it passes. The amended motion passes. So, okay, Chair Huntsman?
Yeah, I'd like to call to question the amended motion.
Second, Board Member Cannon. So the motion before the board is to approve the sixth grade social studies standards as amended. We don't have to do any technicals.
Wait, you're calling the question. Aren't we voting on calling the question?
We're, no, it's not a discussion. No. It's to call to question.
To end
Okay.
all,
Which means.
No
which
more
means
amendments on
end
sixth grade.
discussion. Okay? To end debate. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, and it's a non-debatable motion, okay? So the motion before the board is to end debate and to approve the sixth grade social studies standards as amended. No, it's just to end debate. Sorry, I'm sorry, I added that. Apologize. End debate to that motion. Okay, all in favor of ending debate, say aye. Aye. Those opposed?
no.
Okay, raise your hand if you are opposed to ending debate. Board Member Moss, Board Member Hart, Board Member Earl, Board Member Klein, Vice Chair Davis, and, and you are? No. Okay. Okay. No, I'm just checking. How many is that?
You wanted the
And, yeah, those were the no's. Okay, so, yeah, those that voted no. Is that accurate? Okay, so the motion before the board is to approve the sixth grade social studies standards as amended. Okay, and I don't think we can debate this now because we ended debate, right? Is that right? Because we ended debate, we can't debate this anymore. Okay, so the motion before the board is to approve the sixth grade social studies standards as amended. All in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed?
No.
Okay, will the ayes please raise their hands? Board Member Booth, Board Member Moss, Board Member Hymus, Board Member Cannon, I was going to say Janet, Board Member Norton, Board Member Hutchings, Board Member Straight, Board Member Hanson, Board Member Lear, Vice Chair Davis, and Chair Huntsman, and me. So the sixth grade social studies standards have now passed, and can I just say, I just want to say it's been a Herculean event by many, and thank those who have served on this committee and also on the committees. So thank you. All right, we will take a 5-minute break. We'll take a 5-minute break.